Welcome to the Future of Community and a Future of Media panel. My name is Rachel Sklar. I'm the founder of Change the Ratio and The List, and a former media blogger, commentator, lifer, analyst, PTSD sufferer watching the news, and generally have been living the news cycle for these almost 10 years. And so it is for that reason that I am so excited to be talking with Amy Odell today from Cosmopolitan, because I have sort of been a fan of Amy's ever since she sort of burst onto the scene as the founding editor of The Cut at New York Magazine, making a giant splash in terms of really, I mean, The Cut was one of the big things that really sort of, planted a flag for New York Magazine online. And then Amy went on to be the founding editor, one of the founding editors of BuzzFeed Shift, and helping growing their presence for women before Cosmopolitan snapped her up and said, can you please double our website traffic from 12 million to, about 30 million right now, which she has done. Amy is just a fantastic innovator, pioneer, gets it, has her finger on the pulse. And so we're gonna talk a little bit today about how you go about building that kind of audience, how you go about finding that voice, refining it, connecting, building community, and putting great content out there that people actually want to read. So welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. This is the most beautiful conference room I've ever spoken at, I have to say.
The lighting is amazing. You all look fabulous. So let's talk a little bit about Cosmo, because that's where you are. And it's felt to me, as an outside observer and fan, that sort of your joining Cosmo coincided with a subtle shift in the branding of Cosmo, sort of to a more updated version of the fun, fearless female who's also very politically engaged.
Sure.
And engaged with the news and that sort of thing. Can you talk a little bit about your role in ushering in that updated and evolving brand?
Sure. So working at Cosmopolitan.com has been absolutely amazing. I've been there for about a year, and I think when I was approached about the job by Troy Young, who's the president of Hearst Digital, really, really great guy to work for, he said, we have this really powerful brand, which is Cosmo. Everybody knows that brand. And online, you didn't feel like Cosmopolitan.com was that powerful brand that women all around the world know. So the goal was build a site that feels like the #1 destination for millennial women. Most of our readers, we reach roughly 30 million, as you said, every month now, are millennial women. So how do you become the #1 site for millennial women? So the strategy, to me, there were a couple of things that I thought were really important. One, I thought that the site needed to have its own distinct voice. And by that I mean, when you go to Cosmo, you want to feel like this website, these writers get you. They're in your brain. You're laughing. You think they're smart. Give it a really smart voice that resonates online. I think online it's really important to be funny. People share things that are funny. I think it's really important to be conversational. So we really focused on bringing in a team of super talented and hysterical writers who are really amazing, and many of them have very strong followings already. And then the other thing that I thought was really important was to target the content for women on social media. So if you think about a 20-something woman, it looks like we have a lot of them in the audience today. What do you do most of the time? You're probably doing this on your phone most of the day.
Right now, you're tweeting all the smart things Amy's saying.
I sure hope you are. But how do you reach a woman on her phone? When she's on her phone, she's probably looking at Facebook, she's looking at Twitter, she's chatting with her friends. So I knew that it was important to package our content so that people would share it on social. So I think with those two things, we've seen just explosive growth. And I mentioned that we hired a lot of talented people, and I mean, I couldn't work on the site without them. They're so integral to the success of the site. And my advice there would just be, don't settle when you're hiring people. Look for unicorns. We talk about unicorns all the time. Like, you want those truly, truly exceptional people.
I just want to jump on that just because I'm sure there are a lot of people in the audience who want to be unicorns. Like, what's a unicorn? What is unicorny? What is unicorny?
What is unicorny? Okay, that's a great question. So I was actually advising a young girl who works for me who is completely fabulous. She recently took on the task of managing our interns, and that was a really big step for her because she was going to be interviewing college students. Our interns are all in college, and deciding who to hire. And she's done a spectacular job, and she said, what do I ask them, and how can I tell who's good? And I said, I see a lot of young women come into my office for job interviews, and I say, why do you want to work here? And some of them say, oh, I've always loved beauty products, and I'm obsessed with beauty, or I'm obsessed with style, and I just want to go to Fashion Week, or I just want to interview Justin Bieber. I want to go on a red carpet interview Justin Bieber. And it's just like, okay, so you're trying to get into this business for the perks, because that's not, yes, there are perks, like you might be on a red carpet interviewing Justin Bieber. I started as a red carpet reporter. It's actually very challenging. It's not really that fun. But it's not about that. It's not just about your ego. It's about, do you think you can change the world? And I think that the reason our team is so special is because we have a very strong feminist ethos at Cosmo. And you're looking for the people that, are reading everything that we're doing and see it as an empowering place for women to spend their time when they're on the internet. So I look for people who are getting into this for a bigger reason than I just think this is cool. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I tend to love nerds for hiring, for working with people. Like anybody who's like really nerdy about something, it doesn't matter what. Like if you are obsessed with something and you know the minutiae of it and you just love to nerd out about something, that's bringing something to the table, and that suggests that if you're interested in something that you really dive in. So that's how I see.
I mean, you look for people.
Unicorny.
For people who really know the brand, who give you unexpected answers to questions. I mean, you can tell in 5 minutes, I think, whether or not someone is going to work out or not. You just can tell. That's not great advice, but it's like, do you like talking to this person? And if I'm looking for a writer, it's like, I want you to make really interesting points. I want to have an interesting conversation with you.
So, but the good news is that we can all, just hit the Google and make ourselves nerdier, and then better conversationalists.
When you go into interview for a company, you should really do your research. Like, look at, are you interviewing with somebody who's on Twitter? Just look at their Twitter feed. It doesn't take that long, and those things really make a difference because a lot of people make those very basic mistakes.
So getting back to sort of the building community stuff, because you mentioned Facebook, you mentioned Twitter, and sort of everybody says like you have to have stuff that you can share on social. But what is there a secret sauce? There obviously is a secret sauce. Is it just something that you know in your gut? Have you learned? Do you A/B test? Do you have like a giant like metrics board where you track how things are doing? Like what is the what is the data behind it? What is the method behind it?
Sure, creating the strategy for creating shareable content. I think I think the most important decisions we make day to day that will affect our traffic are about what we're going to cover. Because there's a million things that we can write about every day, and we can't cover all of them. We're a team of only roughly like 20 people. But a lot of it is gut. Like I just know what people click on, having done this for a while, and I also sort of assume just generally everything is boring until you make it interesting. And that was my strategy at The Cut, which you mentioned, which is a fashion news site. How do you make fashion fun and interesting? And I've applied that strategy to everything that I've done. Just assume everything is boring until you make it interesting. And maybe you make it interesting by making it funny. But people respond to things that are presented to them in a unique way or in a way that speaks particularly to them. And now it's so important because I think most of you probably get your news by looking at Facebook or looking at Twitter, and you're scanning headlines all day long. And what are you going to click on? You're probably pretty discerning because you don't want to click on something that's not going to be great. So headlines are everything. We obsess over headlines. How can I get your attention in a headline? I think it's incredibly important to be really clear in your headlines. People tend not to click on things if they don't know what the story is going to be about. As I mentioned, I think humor is really powerful. People like to share things that are funny because it makes them seem funny and interesting.
That's true.
And in terms of data, we're completely obsessed with data. And I have something called Chartbeat, which some of you may have used at some point or other. And it's
be careful. Just be careful.
Yeah,
I was
going to say
take over your life.
It's like crack.
It just basically shows you how many people are on which story at what time in real time. It's
called Chartbeat, and it's a tool. You can get an app for your phone. I look at it on desktop. I have it open all day when I'm editing the site, and it tells me exactly how many people are on each story and the average time they're spending on it. And you just see, we have spikes and dips, and it shows you a line of where you were at this day last week. And if you're below that line, you just kind of feel bad all day, and you're like, how can I get the numbers up? How can I get the numbers up? And there's usually, you sort of learn how to control it over time. So we're very, very invested in Chartbeat.
So this may sound like a dumb question, except I genuinely want to know, do you use Google Plus and LinkedIn? Do you use other social networks? Do you invest time in them, or is it? Sure. I'm curious.
So the platforms that Cosmo really focuses on are Facebook, of course. We have roughly 5.5 million followers there. We're growing very quickly. We're really proud of that. We use Twitter. We have more than 1 million followers there. And Instagram. And those are our 3 primary ones. I think we also have a presence on LinkedIn, but it's not as important for us. Because our audience is just really invested in us on those 3 platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But Instagram, it doesn't allow you to have link-throughs. So I'm always interested in brand building on Instagram.
Instagram does not allow you to drive traffic back to your site. And Twitter and Facebook, you post a link and people click. That's when you see your spike in Chartbeat. And you're like, yay, because you posted something on Facebook and everybody clicked on it. But Instagram is great from a brand building perspective because it allows you to showcase what your brand looks like, which is very important.
Feels like.
Yeah, what it feels like. We post a lot of behind the scenes. We post just beautiful things and things that we love, and our sponsors are really into it. I think when you have sponsors who are fashion and beauty companies, it's really important to have a strongly branded visual presence, and a beautiful one on Instagram.
I want to shift a little bit and go back to what you were talking about. You were talking about your team and how important it is to love your team and rely on them. So one of the things that I noticed when I was doing research for this and looking at, for example, the what is it called again? The Cosmo Live, right? Your live editorial meetings, which usually come complete with a shirtless hunk.
Exactly, of course, it's Cosmo.
Branding, I love it.
They're in and out all the time. I'm not even kidding.
I was really struck by how you always seem to have a rotating cast of people from your newsroom on the editorial side, women and men, and they are full participants in it. And it just struck me because that's a philosophy, right? It could very easily be the Amy Odell show. You've been on television. I don't know if you've seen her. She was on Taxi TV. I remember getting into a taxi and being like, I know her.
Taxi TV is great, by the way. I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to do various press and web shows and TV. And Taxi TV is the one thing that I think everybody saw. My husband's friends were calling him, did I just see your wife on Taxi TV? It's a good thing. It's a good thing to shoot for if you're looking to publicize something.
That's good to know. Taxi TV, yeah. Tweet that. But that is a decision, and I was very struck by that, having been, worked I was at the Huffington Post, I was at Mediaite, and very much a proponent of sharing the wealth, bringing everybody in, and encouraging everybody on staff to build their brand and build their profile, which I believe redounds to the entire brand. And so I was interested in Cosmo's take on that, on not just on sort of sharing the wealth and promoting everybody, but also on your philosophy on the importance of building your personal brand and not just being a byline, but being out there on other platforms.
I think it's incredibly important because we live in such a social media driven time that everybody has a presence on Twitter. I tell my writers all the time and editors, you should be tweeting a lot every single day because it's free marketing and it's a great way to get your stories out into the world. And I encourage everybody to build up a really strong profile. And as many people as we can get media trained and put on TV, we get them out there because if you limit yourself, there's a practical reason to this. And if you limit yourself to just you can't do everything. You're not going to be the best person to go and do a cooking demonstration on Good Morning America. And why would you want to pass up that opportunity if you had it? So I think it's smart to just get all of your people just promoting everything that they're doing in any way that they can, whether it's a tweet, whether it's by trying to get TV spots, going on Cosmo Live, our web show. I think it's incredibly important, and I think there's a lot of egos in many industries, and I think it's kind of unique in the media business sometimes to feel like you are getting those opportunities, like, to the degree that hopefully people are at Cosmo. But it's not all about me. It's about the reader, and it's about the audience, and it's about our community, and it's about the wonderful and talented people on the team. And I feel like as a manager, one of the best things you can do is make people feel like you have their back, you support them, you think they're great, and you want them to be out there because you believe in them. That is a really, really powerful thing as far as being a leader is concerned.
I concur, and it's clearly working for you guys. I've just got the wrap for questions sign, so we're going to wrap for questions and just take them. Hi.
Hi, my name is Miriam Malik, and I have a question about what you said earlier, that you look for people when you're hiring. In terms of hiring, you look for people that bring something, that they're looking for something in the greater good, or like have some sort of meaning to add to the world. But then do you find that there's some sort of a discrepancy in that because you are so focused on data and what people are looking at? So is there like some sort of like discrepancy or there where you're trying to find out, or you're trying to pick stories where that are going to drive people to your magazine and that are also serving the greater good and like meaning that you're...
Sure. So in addition to looking for people who are really passionate about the brand and the mission of the brand, I look for people who understand social media, who are on the internet all the time, who look at Reddit every day, at least. So there are certain basic skills that you need to be a web editor that you need to possess, but I also just look for that thing that distinguishes you from the rest of the many people who come in to interview for a job at Cosmopolitan.com. So yes, we look for those basic skills, and if you come in and you're not on Twitter, I'm not going to hire you because I need people who understand social media, even if you do feel very strongly about our brand mission. Does that help answer your question?
I think this is also where being a nerd really does come in handy. There's definitely chasing traffic. That's obviously an important part of growing a site and hitting the news cycle and having good takes on everything. But some of the best and often most viral stories come from people's personal obsessions, and they happen to know about it. I can't think of an example right now. My personal go-to is always anything to do with musical theater. I'm a total show tunes geek, and anything that I ever write that has a show tune bent to it always surfaces this hidden community of musical theater nerds. I know some of you are in this audience. And so, I think it's always every editor strikes that balance. And, I always called it peas and ice cream, like going for, like the peas, like the nutritional content that you want to make the world better with, and the ice cream is, like, I was at HuffPo, so I, like bikini slideshow.
We do those too, of course.
It's a balance.
This is Courtney from thatgirlattheparty.com. The editing world, it was notoriously lacked diversity for many, many years. What are you doing to rectify that? Is it different now? I don't know.
I'm sorry, you said the
In terms of, no, editing, like editors. There were no editors of color at most magazines. Is it that true now, or what are you doing to rectify that? Is it a diverse staff? Or?
Right. We have a diverse staff at Cosmopolitan.com, and that is something that we think about constantly. I think it's really important that you have a diverse team because your readers are diverse. And when we host reader nights where we invite our readers to come into the office and tell us what they think about what we're doing, I look out at a very diverse group of women every single time. And I think that it's incredibly important, and it's something that we discuss, and it's something that we're very conscious of. And I think that many publications could do better in having a more diverse staff, absolutely.
And that's why it's important to be on Twitter, because then you can tweet at them and complain when you see their dumb conference lineups of like all white dudes or whatever.
Definitely.
That's why I started Change the Ratio, so you can use that hashtag.
My name is Kami and I'm a junior in high school. I'm interested in interviewing people and getting involved in media. So what would you recommend for girls like me?
In high school?
Yes.
I think being here is a great start. I think coming to conferences like this is a great way to to meet people and to feel inspired. And I think it's amazing that you already know that you want to do that. When I was in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I think that's really fabulous. I think definitely work on your school paper. Have you applied to college yet? Are you thinking about that? You said you're a junior? Okay. So you have some time. So I would spend the time between now and when you're applying to college looking for schools that have really great journalism and communications programs. I think, in my personal experience in school, and I find this to be true for a lot of people who studied media in college, was that the experience that I got at my school paper and outside of the classroom ended up being much more important than the time that I spent in the classroom, which was valuable because I learned how to be a reporter and write news stories, but it was so important to get out. And I interned at the New York Observer. I worked on the school paper for a year, which was actually very hard and grueling work, and you should absolutely do it and just kill yourself. But yeah, work hard, get involved in as many school media organizations as you can, and you'll be great.
And read books.
Read
Keep
everything.
reading books.
Yeah.
Do we have time for one more question? We don't have time for any more questions, but you can tweet at Amy at Amy Odell, because we now know that she's on Twitter, or me, Rachel Sklar, or just use the what is it, We NY 2014, right? Use that hashtag. And then, or just stick around. I'll be around, and Amy maybe too. So thank you so much, and thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rachel.